Alright guys, my name is Caleb Williams. I'm going to give you a lecture on non-traditional implements and its role within the strength and conditioning facility or program or regimen that you have or whatever the case may be. Next slide please. Alright, but before I go into this lecture, I just want to give you some just general background information on just some of the different kinds of non-traditional implements that are out there that are used within the strength and conditioning community and profession as a whole. Kettlebells are used widely, especially within CrossFit gyms and other strength performance facilities. Battle ropes is another one. Suspension systems, also known like your TRX systems that are used for proprioceptive uses. Any kind of sled or prowler system that uses some kind of harness to work on speed or whatever the case may be. Sandbags is another one. Another one that's widely used for strongman implements, also known as tires, sledgehammers, log carries, or farmer's walk implements, are also some very other popular implements that are widely used. Next slide, please. But as we all know, especially within this profession, I mean, there's a lot of different methods to the strength and conditioning community and this profession that we use on a daily basis throughout our training programs and how we implement our strength and conditioning strategies and our programs. The use of the conjugate system, the Olympic system, the functional, and the high-intensity method are just some of the very few types of strength and conditioning methods that are out there. So I know that this is just a very broad question, but if we've already been established for a period of, let's say, 20 to 30 years, non-traditional implements have started to become maybe a new face as far as it being a part of our strength and conditioning program. What kind of use or what kind of practicality do non-traditional implements offer? So next slide, please. So here's some different bullet points of the reason why. The first one is that it's another tool in your toolbox, and each one of these points I'll discuss in greater detail here momentarily. Another reason why you could use these implements is that it can help reinforce movements that are related to other resistance training exercises or related to the sport. Say non-traditional implements is a great way to create team competitiveness. It's another great way to challenge your athletes' mental toughness, which is very critical in today's game, not only in the sport of football, but in every other sport known to man. And it just gives you another variability within your training program. So, next slide, please. My first topic is that this is another tool in your toolbox. Throughout this internship, we've been pounded about as far as just being a strength and conditioning coach and what it takes in order to make it in this field, that we have to be a great coach. We have to be able to communicate well. We have to be able to get across different personalities of athletes. Those are all prerequisite conditions, so we have to find out what our supposed and is, whether it's the use of technology, whether it's the use of Microsoft Excel, or whatever the case may be. Strength and conditioning implements can be another one of your ands. Say this profession is very hard to get into as it is. So whenever you're applying for a job and whenever your strength and conditioning coach or head football coach is wanting to know what's your philosophy, what kind of implements do you use, what do you found your basis of your program on, and saying that if you use strongman implements, say with the strength and conditioning coach, they might think, okay, well, say his main philosophy is trying to get our athletes bigger, faster, and stronger, and develop a mental toughness aspect of that. Also, a strength and conditioning coach or a head football coach may think, okay, strongman implements, okay, he's going to get my athletes stronger, okay? So just being able to at least have that within your toolbox, okay, being able to use that within your training program is also very big. The types of equipment that's available at your university is also very critical. Say here at Tennessee, you pretty much have any gizmo, gadget, or piece of equipment that any strength coach or football coach that's available to them. So basically being able to use the more advanced implements is at their fingertips, and being able to use this is a luxury as well. But at a university, let's say that's having to recently go on budget cuts and stuff like that, and doesn't have all the, let's say, amenities as a bigger SEC school might have, having some strongman implements where you can go to a dockyard and get some ropes, or going to like a tractor supply store and getting some tractor tires or stuff like that is a very low budget, low key type of way that you can try and get some implements that can make your athletes a whole lot stronger. Okay, say here's a big one. This is really my main point. Say at North Florida and where I previously worked, we used a lot of non-traditional implements, especially the kettlebell, to help reinforce our Olympic movements. Okay, most common movement within any resistance training, exercise, or sport is triple extension of the hips, knees, and ankles. Okay, so one of the things that we would always want to try and do with our athletes would be able to reinforce triple extension by just using simple kettlebell swings. Okay, to help foster the movements of doing more complex movements such as our Olympic cleans, our Olympic snatches, our pulls, and just being able to become and have the foundation of being able to have a stronger, more explosive pull and lift. This is also very common in any kind of sport, okay, especially in football. You go up there catching a football, going up there with a golf swing, baseball bat, tennis racket, okay, leaping up for a pass, say spiking the volleyball down. It all requires triple extension of those three joints. So being able to, let's say, have a kettlebell be useful is just another thing that you can use to help reinforce movements that are within a training program. Next slide, please. One of the things that I love about non-traditional implements is that it creates a sense of team competitiveness. If you were to have non-traditional implements, let's say crawler pushes, sandbags, tires, battle ropes, boxing stations, and MMA stuff within your training program, it creates a sense of team competitiveness. It always tries to get the most out of your athlete, to be able to challenge your athletes to be accountable, but also to hold your other teammates accountable whenever they're competing against themselves. So if you're able to create an environment where they can be competitive against themselves, it will make you that much more, it will make you that much harder to beat whenever you actually go up against an opponent that's within conference or a non-conference game. Okay? Next slide, please. Mental toughness. This is another one of my big key points that I had within this lecture. Mental toughness is a huge part of the way that I personally like to train my athletes, because I believe that there's a huge mental side to every sport. Because within every sport, there's going to be decisions or choices that an athlete makes, okay, whenever they're tired, whenever they are experiencing discomfort, and they obviously make the ultimate decision of whether they want to push past discomfort or to quit. Okay, now based on that decision, which could potentially determine a win or a loss on the scoreboard. So I believe that that's a huge side of that strength and conditioning professionals are addressing. Say for preseason programs, okay, using GPP or general physical preparation or performance or whatever you want to call it, basically just trying to gear your athletes' mindset into getting ready to perform the activities that's demanded of them within the course of that sports season. Say whenever I was exposed to Florida, say every Friday we would have a fourth quarter program. And basically what their fourth quarter program would consist of is that they would have a general workout where they would actually go through the normal lift, Friday lift, and then at the end they would have a special fourth quarter program set up to basically where they would have 5 or 6 different stations where they would rotate to simulate a fourth quarter to try and, say, push through, to try and be able to finish and get the most out of your athletes. That it was designed to make your athletes very uncomfortable in situations and to see how strong their mental toughness will take them. So being able to use stuff like treadmill sprints, boxing stations, tire flips, battle ropes are just one of the many ways that you could try and improve an athlete's mental toughness. Next slide, please. And our last point here is that it just gives you variety within your training program. I know as a strength and conditioning coach, as well as the rest of y'all, whenever you're designing programs, you always want to make sure that you're always changing stuff. Okay, make sure that you always keep your athletes guessing. Make sure that you avoid staleness within a weight room, because athletes get tired of doing the same old workout just like we do. That's the reason why having variety within your program gives you that option. Non-traditional implements is another way that you can provide a way of getting out of the staleness within your program. I might be an Olympic style coach, but I might want to incorporate, let's say, non-traditional kettlebell exercises instead of an Olympic pull or an Olympic snatch, whatever the case may be. If I wanted to work my shoulders, using battle ropes is a great way. Okay, instead of using the conventional deadlift, I can use tire flips. So there's a lot of different ways that non-traditional implements can give you a way to further expand your strength and conditioning toolbox and to give you more training variability within your own program. So that's pretty much the end of my presentation. Any issues, questions, concerns regarding this?